up, guys? It's me, IBlue Cosplay, here today to talk to you guys about vinyl armor. Now, what's vinyl armor? Well, instead of just painting your armor or your foam armor with just, acrylic paint or spray paint, anything like that, we're going to use this kind of plastic sheet they call car vinyl. So it's used for cars. By using the car vinyl, we eliminate the process of painting and sanding down, all that stuff. We can skip all of that and just get the foam, get the vinyl, place it over, and then you're done. So we're gonna go and discuss about different kind of vinyls and what we're gonna use for our project today. So this is vinyl. Usually it comes in rolls, sheets like this. It has a adhesive backing, which with a grid line, so you can draw or space out how much vinyl you need to cut out, because it's pretty much kind of like a large sticker. Think of it like a large sticker you're just kind of placing over foam itself. Of course, with the sticker or with the vinyl, you need to apply some heat on it to activate the adhesiveness of the vinyl itself. So without any heat, it's just going to slide off. It may be a little sticky, but it'll just come off. So we're going to go ahead and just kind of tell you which brands I usually use for vinyl armor. Brands I use for vinyl armor, I use AutoGoody vinyl armor. I've had experience with other vinyl armors, but they tendency to be a bit too hard. In other words, it's strong, but it's more preferred for cars or anything that you're really going to pull some weight on. So you definitely want to use something that's going to have a lot more ability to stretch over your surface. So you can also use this tutorial for like stretchy fabrics or any kind of PVC vinyl stretchy fabrics. But you will need some adhesive spray to spray on the back of your fabric and also on the armor itself, and then just apply it right on and then do the same process as I'm going to teach you today. So let's get started with preparation. We have our foam. Then we have our vinyl, simple straight vinyl with adhesive backing. Then we have our scissors. It's a utility knife. And then we have our heat gun. You can also use, like a hair dryer or anything like that. That works too. Then we have our super glue, and then we also have our gap filling medium CA glue. These are our tools for making vinyl armor. Now, we're going to start with cutting our foam. Since I decided, okay, I want to make 2 foam armors or 2 foam pieces so I can illustrate how to glue those pieces together. All right, let's get our heat gun out so we can heat the surface of the foam. Get those cells out and get it all smoothed out. Of course, this is optional. Sometimes I do heat the surface of that foam. Sometimes I just leave it the way it is. But this is just my preference because I like a little stiffness to the foam surface. So there you go. All right, so now we're going to get our vinyl out with the sticky adhesive backing. Of course, first I take my foam piece figure out how much margin I need to cut out to place on top of the foam. So I get a marker or any kind of marking device such as a pencil, and then I mark out my margin. So I want to make sure it's, roughly sometimes 10 millimeters outward, from the edge of the foam, because we're going to wrap over it. Then you cut it out using a scissor or a blade or utility knife. I choose to use the scissor because it's a little easier to come out. Gonna make sure the surface is clean because make sure it doesn't have any mess on there. And then you start peeling off the back. Sometimes it's a little tricky, but usually kind of fiddle with the sides and then you're able to peel it off just like a sticker. Then you take the surface and you slide it right over your foam piece. Now, of course, you gotta make sure that it's lined up within the margin. So sometimes you can take it back and then put it back on. There you go. Just line it up. Make sure there's no bubbles when you're laying back onto the foam itself. Get your heat gun. I usually set it at mid settings or high settings, depending on how thick the vinyl is, because there are variation of vinyls that are much more tougher to kind of slightly melt. So once you hit the heat on, it starts to warp into the foam piece, or there it is. Usually you're trying to pull the backing, make sure it's inside. Just kind of pulling the sides, in a sense, just make sure it's all flat up. And then you tuck, and then you get your heat going, right on the sides. So you're just slowly pulling the edges across over underneath, kind of tucking in. Kind of like when you tuck your own bed in, kind of thing. So just think of it like that, but make sure that the edges are sharp when you're pulling it over so that you don't have any kind of weird baggage or baggy sides. So do that for all the edges. Just kind of, like I said, just tucking it in just like a bed. Once you have it all tucked in, you apply it off, or you just only apply off the back side, so you can have a slight opening to place the regular super glue. So we got our Loctite Superglue. Usually I like this brand because it's straight and to the point. So you take your bottle and then you just apply a little amount on the edges. Just a very small amount. You don't want to put too much on. If too much, then you might get some onto your fingers when you're applying it down. So all you gotta do is just close it back in again. Just be careful. Usually I use my top nail to kind of flatten it so I don't get any debris onto my fingers. Also allows me to put more pressure onto the tucked in sides. Then you remove off any excess vinyl pieces or any plastics that might be hanging off, so you can have a nice flat bottom area. And there you have it. One vinyl piece right there. Now we do the same process using the next piece we just cut already. So let's get to that. Here's something to note. Sometimes when you do put on your vinyl armor, you might, or the vinyl piece, when you put on your vinyl piece, you might notice, oh, there's some small light lint. So make sure that your surface is clean. That it's one of those things you're like, all right, gotta get that thing off. Carbon, carbon. Who was that? Carbon fiber, yeah. I think most of these carbon fibers are very strong. Like they're very tough because of how thick they are. They're very, very thick. That's just my opinion, I think. So like I said, make sure the bubbles are clear. You want to make sure that's a clean, clear surface. You don't necessarily need to pop them with a needle or anything, because I know some people do that. But yeah, you hardly ever have to really pop anything because it's really flexible foam. You can easily pull it off and on. Now, when it's bigger pieces of armor, you'll have to work it a little more to make sure it's a smooth surface. So you'll have to really scoot those bubbles off. But since it's a small piece of armor, it's fairly easy. Now, I use Bob Smith Industries gap filling medium insecure CA glue, which has been working me for so many years. Of course, you get your first piece. You glue only on the sides, just on the sides, just a little bit. Gotta be careful not to put too much on. Then you take your next piece, and then you line up your pieces from the bottom end to the top, and just close them in, just like that. Makes it really strong. And then, boom. Like I said, enough for pressure, and you have two sides glued together. So here's the results of the vinyl armor, or the vinyl over foam. Like I said, very simplistic process, a nice clean sheen look to it. Very nice. No need for paint or anything like that. There it is. Eventually I'll get to explaining how to make even more complex items and how to wrap over that and applying details, little small things. But thank you guys for watching, and I'll get back into making tutorials once again.